And he came to this project because he was drawn to its themes of religious hypocrisy. You can certainly read the movie that way, but the thing that makes it fascinating for me is that he doesn't condemn the church, ever.
Welcome to VoiceOver. I'm your host, Heather Bigley, and I talk to people about the movies that made a mark, that led to cinematic epiphanies. And it's not always the movie you'd expect. Today's movie is Night of the Hunter from 1955. It's about two children on the run from their murderous stepfather during the Great Depression, and they find refuge in the home of a woman who runs kind of a foster home farm along the Ohio River. It's part fable, fairy tale, parable about good versus evil and how we heal this world. My guest today is Abby El-Chase, the author of Films for All Seasons. I have it right here. Films for All Seasons, Experiencing the Church Year at the Movies. It's a way to match the Christian calendar, think Advent or Lent, with an expansive list of thoughtful films. Abby El-Chase is a writer on film, popular culture, and faith. Her work has appeared at Think Christian, Sojourners, Paste, RobertEbert.com, and /film. She's also the film editor for The Pitch, a website and magazine serving the greater Kansas City, Missouri area. She lives in Kansas City. Stick around after the conversation for more movie recommends.
This book actually started as a series of articles for a website, now defunct, unfortunately, but a website called Think Christian. It started during the COVID-19 pandemic, actually, because folks were unable to go to religious spaces in public to worship together. And lockdown really started right at the beginning of Lent, essentially. It was a time when a lot of people wanted to be in church with other people. And so Josh and I thought it would be cool to create a list of recommended movies to watch. So these were movies that we thought people could watch either as a family or online together, because Netflix Party was a big thing at the time, and kind of discuss and think about in a different context than usual. And by the time I had made it through more or less the entire church calendar, I realized that I had the outline for a book. The audience it's a little hard for me to pin down, honestly. So it's sort of twofold. One is people who are part of a church, and either they are really aware of the church calendar and are looking for ways to engage with it a little differently than they have in the past, or they are not as aware of certain parts of the church year or even the rhythms of the church year and want to know it more. There are plenty of churches and religious groups out there that really only do Christmas and Easter, and maybe they'll do Lent, but there's not really a whole lot of granular depth there. And there are other church traditions that are really hardcore about it. I have been in the Episcopal Church for most of my adult life at this point, and that's a church that's really liturgically involved. So that's something I've been around for a while. The other group of people are mostly people I know, people who are friends of mine who know that I'm religious and are curious about the way that I observe Christianity, but have never really set foot in a church themselves. And so this was kind of my opportunity to, as a friend of mine says, kind of let me explain myself to you.
Yeah, that's really lovely. And I think for a lot of people, well, I don't know. I've been religious most of my life. My dad's family was Church of the Brethren, and my mother's family was it depended, but a lot of holy rollers. And then I, as a youth, joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but always had this focus on religion, but also film. And sometimes it seems these two things don't go together at all. And then sometimes it seems no, of course they go together, right? The experience of watching a film for so long was to be in community with a group of people in, the sacred dark, experiencing catharsis together. How could that not be a religious experience, right? And then other times it feels just the content that we get shown is not about bringing us closer to anything good. It's in fact about, making us doubt everything good that exists. So, and then reading through your book and seeing like, oh, here she is taking the Dark Knight, and kind of explaining that to us and how that's a contemplation of good and evil and what it means to sin in this world and what it means to look for redemption. There were just things that I thought, oh, for me and for people like me, this is just a gift to see the way that you're writing about film. So thank you very much.
So lovely to hear. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. I was the one who just was beyond delighted. So the next question then would be, what was your process in picking these films? This is casting a broad net and kind of saying like, let's look in all kinds of films for an understanding of good, evil, Christianity, redemption, atonement. So tell me about your process.
Yeah. So my approach to watching and critiquing films from a faith-based perspective is that I grew up in a house where like my family was watching all kinds of movies all the time. Obviously there were ones that I couldn't watch because I was really too young to understand them, but my parents would talk about them all the time, kind of like almost like campfire stories, really.
Yeah.
And so I had like this whole list just running in my head all the time of movies that I was going to check out once I was old enough, or once I was deemed old enough that it was okay for me to watch them. And the older I got, the more I realized that much like any form of expressive art, so like theater, painting, dance, sculpture, you name it, that film is an expression of the person that's making it. It's an expression of their perspective, and sometimes that perspective isn't going to align with yours exactly, but it's still like just like meeting another person. You're curious to know where it comes from. You're curious what it has to say. When it came to picking movies for the book, I wanted to, and some of this came from my discussions with Josh in creating the article series. I wanted to kind of have a balance of lots of different kinds of movies, whether that's stuff that people are really familiar with, maybe movies they've seen a lot or heard a lot about, and then movies that maybe people aren't as familiar with. Like there are probably a lot of people like my age and younger who are less familiar with the Roland Joffe movie The Mission, which is one of my favorites, and I think it's wonderful. And when it comes to talking about faith on film, is like for me like one of the apexes. And there are also older films in the book, like The Bishop's Wife, which is one that I didn't even watch until I was an adult, and it just was on TCM one afternoon, and I just was completely bowled over by it.
Right.
Just kind of amazed by like the thoughtfulness and modernity and progressiveness of the message at its core, which is not a thing you'd never, it's not necessarily a thing you'd expect from a movie with Cary Grant and David Niven, but there it is. So
from the 1940s, right?
Exactly, yes. I want to try and invite people to kind of enter in a spot that they're more familiar with and then kind of explore from there, which is, I think, how you make any good cinephile.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I've been reading the book, so I'm like, ooh, Annihilation. I love that movie, and The Dark Knight, not my favorite, but I'm ready for this discussion, I hope people take the chance to watch these films in the spirit that they're offered.
I'm always reminded of the Roger Ebert quote that movies are a machine that generates empathy, which I think I repeat a couple of times in the book. But I really do think that's true, that if you want to understand another person, like not just recognize them on the street and say, yes, that person is my neighbor, but like maybe understand a little bit more about where they're coming from, you have to be honest about the factors in the world that could create a person. And some of those are fine and, pretty wholesome, and some of them aren't. And you just need to be, aware of the fact that those exist.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the movies you talk about is The Night of the Hunter, and we're going to talk about it today. I have to be honest, I was rewatching it this past week, and I just wept through the last.
Totally. Yeah.
The last part of it.
Yeah.
Watching that movie and getting closer and closer to Lillian Gish's age,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing how this person, she's opened her home to children during the Depression, and she's going to take good care of them, and she's going to not just care about their bodies, she's going to care about their souls. She's going to offer them comfort and straight talk, and here's a person who is doing her best within her circle of influence to accomplish good. And, that just, we are in difficult times right now. Some would say we have always been in difficult times. And just seeing that model for me, it just moved me so incredibly much. Again, the world of the film is a Christian world. Like everyone is Christian.
Yeah.
To some degree or other, right? Either socially Christian or truly believing Christians. There's no kind of outsider who comes in to the space. I mean, Harry Powell is an outsider, but he is claiming legitimacy and authority in this space by saying I'm a preacher and that I'm a chaplain, or I'm whatever I am. I'm a man. That's also
exactly. The religion the Almighty and I worked out betwixt us. Just like,
yes.
Okay, man, you've got a code, I guess. Like,
right.
It's not a good one.
No, it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. Why don't you set up the movie for us and talk about that comparison of good and evil in the movie and how that's working for you?
Yeah. So one of the things kind of extra textually that makes this movie so fascinating for me is that Charles Laughton, the director, he's better known as an actor because this is the only film he ever directed. It was not a financial success on release and kind of discouraged him from making more. He was a gay man and believed that the church was responsible for him being in the closet for most of his life. And he came to this project because he was drawn to its themes of religious hypocrisy. You can certainly read the movie that way, but the thing that makes it fascinating for me is that he doesn't condemn the church ever.
Right.
What he does is that he has these two distinct examples of Christianity. He has Harry Powell, who is this itinerant preacher who funds his quote-unquote ministry by marrying widows and killing them for their money. He's basically like the proto version of the stepfather from the 80s movies.
Yes.
Like the opposite of the Black Widow, the Black Widower.
Right.
And he eventually marries a woman whose husband he met in prison, kills the woman that he has married, and is going to go after the kids. They escape, and they find shelter with Lillian Gish's character, Rachel Cooper, who is a older widowed woman, a farmer, and she has this group of foster children that she's taken in. And she finds John and Pearl, the two kids, and kind of realizes that they've come from a difficult background and takes them in. And when Harry comes looking for them, she stands up to him in a pretty epic way.
John, when your dad says come, you should mind him.
He ain't my dad.
No, and he ain't no preacher neither. Just march yourself yonder to your horse, mister. March, mister, I'm not fooling.
And there's this really beautiful scene between Lillian Gish's character, Rachel, and Harry Powell, Robert Mitchum's character, where he comes basically to kind of intimidate them under cover of night. And his calling card is the hymn Leaning on the Everlasting Arms. So like he starts singing it. And then Rachel starts singing in the descant from inside the house. And it's like this wonderful moment of reclamation where like she knows exactly what his playbook is, and she's letting him know that she knows this too. This is her religion too, and he can't take it from her. It's, I think, notably, Rachel is like she tells the kids Bible stories, and she's the only character between the two of them who actually calls Jesus by name. Harry never does. Although he's happy to quote verses about women being harlots out of context.
Right.
Which is, I mean, that's a thing that I grew up hearing, not all the time, but enough that it kind of threw me a little bit. All of these characters, I think, are representative in some way, shape, or form of, like, if you've been around a church, people that you've probably met, at least perspectives that you've encountered, contrasted with this much quieter form of faith that, for me, is much more reflective of the people in my life who were around me and helped me grow up and helped me stay in church, honestly, is really beautiful. And it's one that it's a perspective that never gets old for me. It's something that's, I think, only gotten more relevant the older I've gotten, and the more that divide has shown up in public discourse. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's a movie that I love to introduce to friends. There's a line that Rachel has where she is, I think, taking the kids to the store and dropping off all the goods that she's going to sell. And she says,
I'm a strong tree with branches for many birds. I'm good for something in this old world, and I know it, too.
and I had a couple friends I was watching it with who had, one of them had grown up going to church and no longer did. And he and his wife were watching it with me, and she just went, wow. I said, yeah, right? Like, right?
Yeah.
Like, who talks like that? I mean, I know people who talk like that. You might not know people who talk like that. And I think it's important that they exist, that you know that they exist.
I think one of the things that stands out to me when I was watching it this second time, multiple times, but I was watching it again, was he is evil. We see that he's evil. We see that he's a charlatan. We see that he's a performer. We see that he's contorting religion into the thing he needs to get what he wants. But it's so fascinating to see the reaction of the people around him. And as you said, he's got all these scriptures about how horrible women are. But then we also see how women react to him. So it's one of the tragedies of the movie is that Willa Harper, the widow, she's being encouraged by the people around him or around her to marry him, but at the same time, she just falls under this spell. And then we have this young girl, Ruby, who is with Rachel Cooper, who also falls, and it's sort of played for laughs, like she's like falling completely in love with this man who we all know is evil because he's bought her an ice cream and a magazine. I mean, one thing we know is like it's desperate times, like in this.
Right. Yeah. There's something about that magnetism, right? Of like somebody who seems like they are fully, like they've got it figured out, man, and they are fully in command. And I think that's a seductive thing, like, you know, not just in a romantic fashion,
Right.
but like in a leadership fashion, like the older woman, Icy Spoon, who is trying to, who's got some cracker lines in this movie. My goodness.
That wasn't love. That was just flapdoodle. Have some fudge lambs. When you've been married to a man 40 years, you know all that don't amount to a hill of beans. I've been married to my Walt that long, and I swear in all that time I just lie there thinking about my canning.
Oh my gosh. The way that she is immediately taken in with him because it just seems like he's got it. He can quote the good book and he can sing the hymns, and he's got this authority that, you know, kids need a good, strong authority figure to help them grow up right. And then by the end, after Harry's caught, like they you know, switch to the mob and that's like trying to chase him down, and she is right at the front just screaming and yelling, and like she's a very easily swayed person, and I feel like that's, you know, there but for the grace of God, right? Like that's been the case for lots of people throughout history. But I think it's such an interesting examination of just like the way that we are, you know, seduced by somebody in authority, in whatever form that might take.
Pearl herself is taken with him, right?
Yeah,
and just
she really
crawls
is.
right into his arms. And there's poor little John who's glaring at him the whole time, like, you know, yeah.
And I think that there's also the importance of shame that plays a huge role in this, especially in Willa's relationship with him, because she's, you know, as the wife of somebody who stole a bunch of money, and she believes she was responsible for him acting out, and she's looking for salvation, and so it comes along in the form of this preacher who she can marry, and just, you know, that can get her completely clean. And of course that's not what happens. It just makes her easier prey, unfortunately.
Yeah, I love the backstory that you're sort of informing us about of Charles Laughton, and this idea of, you know, he wants to show the dangers of religion, and yet at the same time he provides us with like this beautiful model of what true religion is, right? True religion is to care for the fatherless, right? True religion is to, you know, to help, to point people in the right direction, to point people towards healthy, relationship and to all these things. And that Rachel Cooper, like, again, there she is with that rifle, like. She's got a song and a rifle. Like, what else does a woman need?
A song in her heart and a rifle in her hand.
Yeah. And she's going to make sure that these little lambs, I mean, she also has those lines about...
It's a hard world for little things.
Yeah. It's a hard world for little things. And, gosh, the final monologue that she has at the end of the film, too.
Lord save little children. You'd think the world would be ashamed to name such a day as Christmas for one of them and then go on in the same old way. My soul is humble when I see the way little ones accept their lot. Lord, save little children. The wind blows and the rains are cold, yet they abide.
All of this stuff, it's just done with so much kindness and observation and knowledge that's just, it really hits you right in the heart.
Yeah. Yeah. So you tell me about the first time you saw this movie. Like, was this something you saw as a young person in your home, or was this something you discovered later?
So I discovered it later in kind of a unconventional way. So when I was in my early teens, there was a mini-series on Bravo. It was a countdown series called 100 Scariest Movie Moments. And it was really well done, too. Like, it introduced me to so many movies that I had never even heard of at that point. Like Shallow Grave, I would never have watched had I not seen that series. So, like, lots of great stuff. And Night of the Hunter was one of the movies that they discussed.
What was the scary moment?
I think the one that they use is when the kids are in the cellar with him.
Believe you, do you, boy?
Well, don't you believe me?
Why, sure, boy, sure. Right, where now? Mind, no tricks now. I can't abide a liar.
Yonder.
Oh, no, you don't. Now, where, boy, where?
Under the stone on the floor.
This is concrete.
John made a sin. John told a lie.
The Lord's a-talking to me now. He's a-saying, a liar is an abomination before mine eyes. Speak, boy, where's it hid? Speak. Speak, or I'll cut your throat and leave you to drip like a hog hung up in butchering time.
Pearl, shut up. Pearl, you swore.
You could save him, little bird.
Inside my dough, inside my dough.
The dog. Why, sure. Last place anybody'd think to look.
As somebody who was kind of horror averse at the time, it seemed like a really good entry point for me. Like, this is something that is, it's older, black and white. It's probably not going to be as scary. The themes seem really interesting. And so it was just kind of in the back of my mind until like my 20s. And I was working in campus ministry at the time too. So I just like one random like Wednesday afternoon, I got it from a video store, popped it in and watched it and was completely blown away. And immediately just thought like, this is a movie that I need to show the students that I'm working with because I think it's really important. I in the years since then started noticing all of these references to this movie that popped up in other movies that I loved. Like the Coen brothers reference this movie all the time, constantly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's it's a hard world for little things. That line shows up in Raising Arizona.
Sometimes it's a hard world for little things.
There's the use of Leaning on the Everlasting Arms as the score in True Grit. I think probably most famously, the speech in Do the Right Thing that is like taken directly from Harry's love and hate speech.
H-A-T-E. It was with this left hand that old brother Cain struck the blow that laid his brother low. L-O-V-E. You see these fingers, dear hearts, these fingers has veins that run straight to the soul of man. The right hand, friends, the hand of love. Now watch and I'll show you the story of life. These fingers, dear hearts, is always a warring and a tugging, one against the other. Now watch 'em. Old brother left hand hates a fighting, and it looks like love's a goner.
Yeah. There's a character that has like love and hate rings on his fist, and he basically does that entire monologue, but like in a different, like New York 90s vernacular.
Hey, it was with this hand that Cain iced his brother. Love. These 5 fingers, they go straight to the soul of man. The right hand, the hand of love. The story of life is this. Static. One hand is always fighting the other hand.
So yeah, it's kind of fun to see echoes of this thing in lots of other movies, and then kind of coming back to it and going, well, what about this was so influential? And then like over time, just kind of, it just became more and more part of my personality, basically. I don't know if a movie can be your entire personality, but it's just one that I kept coming back to over and over again and showing people, and they were really excited by it, and it lives forever in my brain and my heart now.
Yeah. The first time I saw this, I wasn't expecting it to be scary. When we're in the water and we're seeing the floating weeds, and then we pan over to her. The first time I saw this movie, I like.
It's
like there was.
It's a striking image. It's frightening. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gasped out loud. Like that was so upsetting. And then having that, and then knowing, oh, he's not playing around, right? And these children are in danger, and they've got to get out of here. Like that for me has always made this a really frightening.
Yeah, honestly, I think the scariest moment for me is the cut from that to where he's like walking to, like, you realize that that's what he's done. You hear the leaning on the everlasting arms just to like totally cement that, yep, this is Harry's work. And then you cut to him walking towards the house, and that children.
Yes.
When he like, just kind of irises in on the kids in the basement, you're just like, whoa.
This is
whatever
not
happens
go well.
next is not going to be good.
Yes. I want to actually talk about that river scene because, a couple of things. One, on this watch, I was struck by how much music is in this movie. Obviously, I think the most well-known is his refrain, or this motif that becomes, sort of this horrifying like realization that this man is nearby. We can hear him whistle this, we can hear him hum it, we can hear him sing it. It's very effective use of sound. But for instance, there's the picnic where everyone is singing together. And there's
Uncle Bertie, yeah.
Yes, Uncle Bertie, who has his own song that he sings.
Along the river shore.
And then we have the river sequence, which is when Pearl and John get in a skiff and they're going to go down the river and escape him. And we have, quote unquote, Pearl done in true 50s fashion, right? Like they're going to dub in a singer.
That's for sure ADR. Yep.
Yeah. And they're going to sing this song, Pretty Fly. And we're going to have all these images of the frog and the spider web and the
I think there's like a
the
tortoise
rabbits
and a fox and a
yes.
rabbit.
Yeah, all these sort of small creatures, right? Small things that are living along the river, and these two children hopefully making it to safety. We're not assured of that for, the song itself is quite it's minor
eerie,
key and eerie. And then this is all shot, as a nighttime scene with a lot of shadow and a lot of darkness. So like, I don't know, there's a way in which that river scene functions for me that says we're not safe yet. And will we get safe? Like there's a lot of dread still. I don't know. What do you think about that scene?
No, I love that because honestly, the river sequence is maybe the one that I have the hardest time decoding.
Yeah.
Almost everything else just seems like a one-to-one of just like, this is representative of this goes here, this goes here. That is maybe the most expressionistic, but I think, yeah, the way that it functions best for me is like that. It's basically, it's a mood setter. It's, you're thinking about like hunters and prey and vulnerability and yeah, that we're not safe quite yet. And the fact that that's followed up with like the score when they get to Rachel's house, which is, you know, much more bright, upbeat, happy, and I think much more child focused as well. I think it takes you on sort of a journey to get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, that and the thing that they're not moving that fast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
right. Yeah.
So like, you know, it's for me, I keep saying to myself, they should be safe. They should be far ahead of him. That he's not going to, I'm
right.
not going to catch
you get
up.
That, yeah. And you get that wonderful scene where they decide to sleep in a barn for the night. And then you can like kind of see him on the horizon riding past on the horse. And
yeah.
John says,
"Don't never sleep."
It's just like, he's a ghoul. He's like a supernatural presence essentially.
And I'll just say something about the ending that gets me every time because it's one of those things that feels completely unresolved for me. Is, you know, at the beginning we have John watching his father get arrested and he like kind of grips his stomach and he says, no.
Don't. Dad.
But at the end, we get the same thing. And he's watching Harry be arrested and he grips his stomach and he says, no, no. And there's a way to read this in which, okay, this was an evil father figure, but he was a father figure. And so he's reliving his own father's, you know, the last time he's ever going to see his dad. And it adds like a texture to that scene where we don't fully get to say, yay, good has triumphed and this has been resolved. We, in fact, have to kind of revisit the wound, you know, the original trauma. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think about that last scene? It's not the last scene, but it's that.
Yeah, it's close
moment.
to it. Yeah. I really like the fact that it's not quite as cut and dried and that also there's this... like the sense of like the weight of this money that he and Pearl have had to hide this entire time, which is like stuffed inside this doll that she has. And like neither of them, they're children. And like, could they benefit from having money in their lives? Sure. Do they know what to do with it? Absolutely not. So instead they just have like this big, like thousands of dollars albatross, like stuck inside this doll. And at that point John can't handle it anymore. Like the money itself is trauma. He needs it out of his life. And it's just, yeah, the fact that he runs up there with Pearl's doll and just like whacks it on the ground and like takes the money out and then just like passes out. Like that kid has no energy left in him. Like he has been fighting this fight for way too long and he just can't carry that burden anymore. I think it's such a great dramatic moment.
Yeah. And it's a Christmas movie. So talk to me about why you chose to put it in the Christmas calendar where you did.
So yeah, I maybe it's just kind of reflective of my own psyche. I tend to be drawn to some of the darker and more dramatic aspects of the church calendar, and I think at some point in my like 20s, maybe my early-ish adulthood, I started realizing. And part of this was that I worked with Sojourners for a year as an intern, and that's an organization that does a lot of work with social justice. Kind of exposed me to more complicated views of even like Christmas, which is, you know, usually it's a very happy and upbeat holiday, and there's all this hope attached to it, and rightly so. But there's also kind of the sense of the reality that surrounds the birth of Jesus, and that it's not a safe environment. Politically, it's not safe. We have, you know, when the Magi come and visit, shortly after you have the Holy Family's flight to Egypt. So Joseph and Mary and baby Jesus have to run away because Herod is killing all the infants, trying to find the infant Jesus and get rid of him. which is a story that does come up in The Night of the Hunter that Rachel brings up specifically. And it's a reminder that for all of the kind of holy power that that Jesus has as the Son of God, that Jesus was a baby once and was vulnerable and needed people to help him reach adulthood, basically, to get to the point where he could do all of the rest of the stuff. And so to me, having a movie like The Night of the Hunter, and also Children of Men is in that section too, for pretty much the same reason, is that it's there to kind of redirect your focus a little bit. I think it's also worth noting the risks that are involved with saying yes to that calling and to raising a baby that you don't know what the end result of that is going to be. You pray and you hope and you expect and you put your trust in something that you can't see. And so I feel like thematically there's a lot of that in there, basically, the idea that it takes a lot of ordinary people in order to carry out the work of the kingdom of God. It's sort of a call to active involvement. And I feel like in that sense, The Night of the Hunter gives you a pretty good blueprint of how to be and how not to be in that regard.
Thanks to Abby for talking through Night of the Hunter with me. It's long been a favorite of mine, and like her, I love sharing it with people. When this episode airs, we'll be close to Ascension Day, which marks the 40th day after Resurrection Sunday. You should read Abby's book for yourself, but she does recommend, among others, 2016's Midnight Special and another film from 2009. It's a little thing called Avatar. Have you heard of it? But if you're interested in more films like Night of the Hunter, I have some recommendations too. Abby mentioned the easily swayed nature of Icy Spoon, one of the characters in Night of the Hunter, which made me think of the 1936 film Fury from director Fritz Lang, starring Spencer Tracy and Sylvia Sidney. And if you don't know Sylvia Sidney, you need to know Sylvia Sidney. It's about a man who seeks revenge against a mob who tried to kill him when he was wrongfully accused of kidnapping a child. Lang was a German immigrant director who fled Hitler's Germany and had a lot to say about America's possible nosedive into populist authoritarianism. And it seems like the director of Night of the Hunter had some similar concerns. If you like the parable nature of Night of the Hunter, I also recommend O Hasard Balthazar, Robert Bresson's 1966 episodic film about a donkey in rural France. Bresson used non-professional actors to capture his naturalistic approach to a world in decay, and many critics have seen the donkey, a patient, mute beast of burden, as a stand-in for the Christ. The movie does not have a happy ending, but many critics think of it as one of the greatest films ever made. Another film that combines the childlike with dread is Terrence Malick's 1973 Badlands, but this time it's the children who are the threat, and by children I mean teenagers, early 20s. Sissy Spacek plays a 15-year-old caught up in an erratic relationship with a loner who takes her on a killing spree across South Dakota. By today's standards, this is not a graphic film, but the violence does lead to this palpable unease because of the unpredictable nature of the loner greaser boyfriend, played by Martin Sheen, a youngish Martin Sheen. At the same time, the movie is dreamlike and has a certain naivete. Think of it as Rebel Without a Cause meets lyric poetry, or Bonnie and Clyde with 1950s pop songs. That's our show. I'm your host, Heather Bigley. Voiceover is a production of BYU Radio and is edited by Spencer Boyer.